Commander Sophia de Guerre, I first read with full monkey brain. I saw destroy one legendary permanent and thought, this is pretty cool. An instant speed creature to destroy an opponent's commander when they have their shields down. You get a chump blocker on the back end, maybe a casting trigger on Door of Destinies, and you're feeling pretty good about this 4 mana investment. Then I turned on the human brain and expanded my horizons. Turns out the monkey brain impression is the floor of what this creature can accomplish. Firstly, this does not specify non-land permanents, so your Gaia's Cradle, your Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx, and Phyrexian Tower are not safe from her crash landing. The list of premium targets goes on as you venture through artifacts, enchantments, and every planeswalker. The real kicker with this spell is that her ability triggers when entering the battlefield instead of when you cast her. This opens the door to make her a one-woman wrecking ball when paired with ETB multipliers and blink effects. Your opponents don't leave empty-handed though. They get these brand new junk tokens that can be sacrificed to impulsively draw a card, meaning you exile the top card of your library, which can only be played that turn. What you may not be thinking about is that in rare occasions when you have 1 or 2 outs in your deck that are not presently available, you can target your own permanent to get one last shot at finding that board wipe or burn spell or whatever the case may be. Commander Sophia de Guerre is my pick for best newly printed white spell from the Fallout set. I understand that best is a loaded term, but I think her crash landing ability gives her broad appeal for decks in white, with huge upside when included in an optimized list. Welcome back to the channel everyone, or hello if you're here for the first time. I've been getting more and more excited about this Fallout release, so in this video I'm going to be talking about the white spells that are doing it for me, whether for their power or just the flavor. And before we move on, please take a second to subscribe to the channel. I'm going through one color every day this week, and you won't want to miss that. Besides, it's totally free and it helps out the channel a ton. It's super appreciated. Battle of Hoover Dam was designed in the spirit of spells like Mirrodin Besieged and Outpost Siege. You've got 2 modes, and once you make the choice, you've got to stick with it. The first one needs a couple of turns to start paying off, especially when there are sorcery spells like Helping Hand out there that do close to the same thing at a much better rate. But that's not to say this mode is bad. For starters, if you have a commander that's 3 or less mana, this is a tidy but not foolproof way to avoid paying the commander tax. I say not foolproof because your creatures come back with finality counters, so if they die, they get exiled. You may have been thinking it, but this means you can't permaloop Boromir for endless protection and ring tempting, unless you include a way to deal with those finality counters. But as long as you build your deck with creatures of this size, this enchantment will pay dividends in no time. For what it's worth, I'm also very into it, starting to accrue that value on the very same end step that you cast the spell. Just like from the rubble in the Velociraptor precon. While the first mode needs some time to get going, the second mode in a deck designed to take advantage of your creatures dying can be game altering as soon as it's played. First thing that came to mind was Teysa Karlov, doubling those counters to 4 and putting them on, sneak peek here, Feral Ghoul, which can get completely out of control applying rad counters when it dies. While I do think the aristocratic playstyle is probably the best fit for this mode, it's by no means the only playstyle that can take advantage. If you've already got a board full of token creatures, your opponent's blocking to destroy half of them, knowing the other half will be getting those counters, makes for a frustrating decision. I always love flexibility in my cards, and I think both options here are strong and fun. I want to talk about Encumbered, not because I think it's a great spell, but because I am an RPG enjoyer, and have dealt with my fair share of this mechanic. I think the design team absolutely nailed this one. Your opponent now has all this cool stuff to play with, but how cool is it if you're locked out from playing part of the game? Then again, depending on what your opponent's board state already looks like, aka if they have enough strength, this very well could have no effect. But specifically against opponents themed or even sub-themed around artifacts, this 2-mana aura is going to put a serious strain on their resources. When the Tales of Middle-earth came out, I transformed the Riders of Rohan Precon into an Aragorn Voltron deck on a budget where you make a bunch of human creature tokens to hold the fort while Aragorn attacks solo, equipped with spells like Stoneforge Masterwork and Sigil of Valor. Idolized put a smile on my face, being perfect for that deck, but even better because it works with any non-land permanent. I know there's a bunch of you out there with token decks, treasure decks, even clue decks these days. Idolized and a simple Rogue's Passage is a pretty low investment to possibly start one-shotting your opponents as an alternative win condition. Yes Man, Personal Securitron is your local group hug player's new favorite card. It does the same thing as Humble Defector, only with one more toughness, costing one more mana, and gaining a quest counter each time it's passed along. If anyone is so callous as to remove Yes Man from the battlefield, the owner of the spell, that's you, no matter who controls it, gets a little army of little soldiers, based on the total number of quest counters. This creature doesn't belong in most decks, but it'll make for a good time when you do see it, and probably encourage some politicking for those that want to draw some, and who doesn't want to do that? Aradesh the Founder is probably the first card with the enlist mechanic that's gonna see a decent amount of action, specifically in human or soldier decks, as there are tribal synergies and those types tend to go wide, giving him plenty of targets to enlist. And you will want to enlist a creature, because when you do, Aradesh, or more accurately, any creature that has enlisted another, will gain double strike, and if their power is 4 or greater, you draw a card. In combination with effects from spells like Vanquisher's Banner or Coppercoat Vanguard, no matter what you enlist, you will get that 4 power to draw your card. As a commander, I can't help but to mention how perfectly he wears Commander Plate, bumping his power to that all-important 4 while giving so much protection as a monocolored creature. With a built-in way to pretty easily get double strike, there's totally a Voltron angle with Aradesh. You just gotta figure out some way to make sure he isn't perma-chump locked. Last spell for now is Codsworth, Handy Helper. There is so much to like about this creature. That Word 2 ability, especially early in the game, makes interacting with your commander a tough pill to swallow. And then tapping for 2 mana toward the gear your deck is running, or giving you a free equip, makes this better and better. The utility is limited to a deck running those spell types, but looks to be a quality inclusion in those piles. Thanks for watching everyone. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, like the video if you liked the video, and let me know in the comments what white spell from this Fallout set has you all hot and bothered. I'll catch you next time for some more monkeying around.